I used to believe I had the kind of marriage people envied. The kind built on trust, laughter, and unshakable devotion. The kind where you could look at someone and know, without a shadow of a doubt, that they would never betray you. That's what I had with Olivia. Or at least, that's what I thought. From the moment we met, Olivia was the kind of woman who turned heads, effortlessly elegant, fiercely intelligent, and completely captivating. She had this way of making people feel like they were the only ones in the room when she spoke to them. But out of everyone who wanted her, she chose me. For 5 years, I was the luckiest man alive. We had built a life together, brick by brick. A beautiful home in the suburbs. Weekend getaways to Napa Valley. Late-night talks about our future, kids, retirement, the places we'd travel to once we were old and gray. I trusted her with everything. So when she told me she was going to Dubai for a bachelorette trip, I didn't think twice. "Are you sure you don't mind?" she had asked, twirling her wine glass between her fingers. "Of course not," I had laughed. "Go, have fun. You deserve it." She had beamed at me, crossing the room to straddle my lap, pressing her lips to mine. "God, I love you," she whispered. And I believed her. The trip was extravagant, 7 days in a 5-star hotel with her closest girlfriends, yacht parties, fine dining, private beach resorts. It was the kind of thing people dreamt of, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I wasn't worried. Olivia wasn't the type to lie. She wasn't the type to keep secrets. I trusted her completely. But that was before. Before she came back different. Before I received the message that would rip my world apart. The moment Olivia stepped through the door, I knew. I couldn't explain it, not logically, at least. She looked the same. Same sun-kissed skin, same designer luggage rolling behind her, same effortless beauty that had always stolen my breath. But something was off. She smiled when she saw me, but it wasn't her smile. It didn't reach her eyes. "Hey, baby," she said, wrapping her arms around me, pressing her body against mine. I breathed in her familiar vanilla perfume, but even that felt different. Like she had already washed something off before coming home. "Missed you," I murmured against her hair. "You too." Her voice was softer than usual. Distant. I pulled back, searching her face. "How was Dubai?" "It was amazing," she said quickly. Too quickly. "I'm exhausted, though. I need a shower." That's when I noticed the way she avoided my eyes. The way she wouldn't hold my gaze for too long, like she was afraid I might see something buried beneath the surface. Still, I pushed the doubts away. Maybe she was just tired. Maybe I was overthinking it. That night, as we lay in bed, I pulled her close, my hand resting on her hip like always. But instead of melting into me, she stiffened. Just for a second. Barely noticeable. But I noticed. And for the first time in our marriage, I had the sinking feeling that Olivia was keeping something from me. Then came the other signs. She started keeping her phone face down. She would take calls in another room, lowering her voice just enough that I couldn't make out what she was saying. She stopped posting pictures from the trip, even though I knew her friends had taken plenty. And when I casually asked her for stories, she would only tell me surface-level details. The fancy restaurants, the expensive shopping, the yacht parties. But nothing real. Nothing personal. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself Olivia loved me, that she would never betray me. But that was before the message. Before my phone vibrated with the first crack in the perfect lie. The message came late at night. I was in bed, scrolling mindlessly through my phone, while Olivia lay beside me, her back turned, breathing slow and steady. Then, a vibration. At first, I thought it was just another junk notification. But when I glanced at the screen, I froze. Unknown number. You deserve to know the truth about your wife. I sat up, my pulse spiking. My eyes flicked toward Olivia. She didn't move. Didn't stir. Was she really asleep? Slowly, carefully, I slid out of bed and walked into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. My hands were shaking as I unlocked my phone. There was another message. Unknown number. Open the video. Attached below was a file. A video file. A cold chill ran down my spine. For a moment, I just stared at it, my thumb hovering over the screen. My mind raced. Who sent this? Why? Every logical part of me was screaming, don't open it. That once I saw whatever was inside, I could never unsee it. But the doubt had already been planted. The weird behavior. The secrecy. The way she had flinched when I touched her. I needed to know. I braced myself, and pressed play. The video started instantly. Dim lighting. A lavish penthouse suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealing the dazzling Dubai skyline at night. There were people, women in expensive dresses, men in tailored suits. Laughter. Music. The unmistakable sound of champagne glasses clinking. And then. I saw her. Olivia. My heart stopped. She was there, at the center of it all, wearing a sleek black dress I had never seen before. Her hair was styled differently. Her makeup darker. She looked different. Not the woman I knew. She was talking to someone. A man. Tall. Dark-haired. Confident. He leaned in, whispering something in her ear. And then, she laughed. Not the polite kind of laugh she gave strangers. Not the kind she used at work events. This was intimate. Familiar. Like she knew him. Like she belonged to him. My chest tightened. But it got worse. Because a few seconds later, Olivia turned toward him. And kissed him. Not hesitantly. Not drunkenly. Like it wasn't the first time. The video ended abruptly. I stood there, gripping my phone so tightly I thought I might crush it. My entire body was numb. The air in the bathroom suddenly felt too thick, too heavy. This isn't real. This has to be fake. This can't be happening. But it was. And I had proof. I stared at myself in the mirror, at the man who had, just hours ago, still believed he had a perfect marriage. That man was dead. Don't remember breathing. I don't remember blinking. All I remember is watching. Watching my wife, the woman I trusted more than anyone, kiss another man like I didn't even exist. I replayed the video. Once. Twice. A third time. Each time, my stomach twisted tighter. Each time, I prayed I had missed something, that there was a detail, an explanation, a context that would make this anything other than what it looked like. But there wasn't. It was clear. Undeniable. The way she leaned into him. The way her hands rested on his chest. The way he touched her like she belonged to him. And she let him. No hesitation. No reluctance. I could have handled a moment of weakness. A stupid, drunken mistake. But this? This was something else. This was familiar. Rehearsed. I forced myself to watch the rest. The camera angle shifted slightly, revealing more of the penthouse suite. The place screamed wealth, gold accents, designer furniture, glass walls that overlooked the Dubai skyline. I recognized some of the women from Olivia's Instagram stories, the same friends she had gone on the trip with. But they weren't just drinking and dancing. They were with men. Powerful, expensive-looking men. And they weren't just talking. My pulse hammered in my ears as Olivia and her mystery man disappeared down a hallway, his hand resting low on her back. She was smiling. Then they vanished behind a door. The video cut to black. I stood there, gripping the bathroom counter, trying to hold myself up. My hands trembled. What the hell had I just seen? I had expected flirtation, maybe even a drunken kiss. Something I could rage about, confront her over, forgive her for. But this? This was planned. Willing. Repeated. I suddenly felt stupid. Stupid for trusting her. Stupid for not seeing the signs earlier. Stupid for believing in the perfect marriage that had never actually existed. I clenched my jaw, breathing hard. The video was proof. But it wasn't enough. I needed more. I needed to know everything. I don't know how long I stood there. The bathroom was silent except for the dull ringing in my ears, my heartbeat pounding like a war drum in my chest. My hands were still clenched around the edges of the sink, my knuckles white. I felt like I was going to be sick. The video was still open on my phone, the last frame frozen on the screen, Olivia disappearing behind that door, her lips curled into a smile. Like she was happy. Like she had wanted this. Like she had never once thought about me. A violent shudder tore through me. My vision blurred, my breath coming in shallow, uneven gasps. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. I replayed the video. Again. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe it was some kind of deepfake. Maybe. But no. It was real. Every detail was there. The way her body moved against his. The way her hand rested on his chest. The way he touched her like she belonged to him. A strangled sound escaped my throat, half gasp, half broken laugh. I didn't even recognize it as my own. I had loved this woman. I had built a life around her. And this whole time, she had been someone else. I looked at myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the man staring back at me. My face was pale, my eyes hollow. My body felt disconnected, like I wasn't even inside myself anymore. Like I was watching my own breakdown from the outside. I thought of every moment we had shared. Our first date. Our wedding vows. The nights we had stayed up talking about our future, our kids, our dreams. It was all a lie. Had she ever even loved me? I wanted to smash the mirror. I wanted to scream. I wanted to wake her up and demand to know who the hell she really was. Instead, I collapsed onto the bathroom floor, my back against the cold tile. And for the first time in years, I let myself break. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I clenched my fists, pressing them hard against my temples. I felt like my body was tearing itself apart. This wasn't just betrayal. This was annihilation. I wanted to believe there was some explanation, some way this could make sense. But deep down, I knew better. She had lied to me. She had gone to Dubai and done things I could never forgive. And now, I had a choice. I could confront her. I could leave her. Or I could destroy her. I didn't know which one I would choose. Not yet. But one thing was certain. By the time this was over, Olivia would regret ever lying to me. By the time I walked out of the bathroom, something inside me had changed. The heartbreak, the confusion, the disbelief, they were gone. All that was left was rage. I stood at the doorway of our bedroom, watching Olivia sleep peacefully beneath the covers. I wanted to wake her up the way she had just woken me up, with a nightmare. Instead, I walked to my side of the bed, grabbed my phone, and opened the video one last time. Then, I pressed play. On full volume. The sound of clinking glasses and muffled laughter filled the quiet room. At first, she didn't stir. Then, as the voices became clearer, her body tensed. And when the unmistakable sound of her own laugh echoed through the room, her eyes shot open. She turned to me, confused, still half asleep. Then she saw my phone. Then she heard the kiss. And her entire face drained of color. I didn't say anything. I just watched as the realization sank in. For a few seconds, she was frozen, like a deer caught in headlights. Then, in an instant, her face changed. The shock faded. The panic disappeared. And just like that, the mask came on. She sat up, pulling the sheets around her like she was the one who had been wronged. "Jake," she whispered. "I can explain." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "Go ahead," I said, crossing my arms. "Explain to me how you ended up in a private penthouse in Dubai, wrapped around some billionaire's neck like you belonged to him." Her lips parted, but nothing came out. For the first time since I had known Olivia, she had no words. I let the video play until the very last second. Until she and that man disappeared behind a door. Until the screen went black. Then, I turned to her. "How long?" I asked. My voice was steady. Cold. She swallowed hard. "Jake, please." "How long?" A flicker of something crossed her face. Guilt? No. Regret? No. Fear. Not fear of losing me. Fear of losing control. She inhaled sharply. "It was just one night. A mistake. I was drunk." I slammed my phone onto the nightstand so hard she flinched. "Don't lie to me." I snarled. "Not after this. Not after everything." She shut her mouth, her jaw tightening. For a second, neither of us spoke. The air between us was thick, suffocating. Then, she did something that nearly made me snap. She tilted her head. Like she was studying me. Calculating. And in that moment, I knew. She wasn't sorry. She was thinking of a way out. My chest rose and fell in sharp, ragged breaths. "Tell me the truth, Olivia. Tell me before I find out on my own." She exhaled slowly, like she was debating something. Then, finally, she spoke. "Okay," she said, her voice almost calm. And the next words out of her mouth. They were worse than anything I had imagined. Olivia sat up straighter, running a hand through her hair, like she was preparing herself to deliver bad news in a business meeting, not confessing to the destruction of our marriage. Then she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "It wasn't just one night." I felt something inside me snap. Every muscle in my body tensed, my fingers curling into fists at my sides. She knew those words would destroy me. And yet, she said them so calmly. "How long?" I forced out. She hesitated. Just for a second. But that hesitation was enough. Long enough for me to know it had been longer than I wanted to hear. "Since Dubai," she admitted, her voice quiet. I clenched my jaw. "That was 3 months ago." She didn't flinch. Didn't look away. I wanted to scream, to break something, to demand why. But I already knew why. So instead, I asked the one question I still couldn't process. "Who is he?" Her lips parted, but this time, she didn't hesitate. "Asad Al-Farouk." The name sent a chill down my spine. I knew it. Of course, I knew it. Everyone in finance knew it. Billionaire real estate tycoon. Ruthless investor. A man who owned half of Dubai's skyline and controlled the other half. And my wife. She had sold herself to him. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. So what was I, then? A backup plan? A safety net? Her expression didn't change. "Jake, I slammed my fist against the dresser. "Don't. Just don't." She sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "You have to understand," she started. "Oh, no." I let out a bitter laugh. "No, Olivia. The only thing I have to understand is that my wife flew halfway across the world and let another man own her. She stiffened. It wasn't like that. I scoffed. Really? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like that. She pressed her lips together. And then, she made a mistake. She rolled her eyes. Like I was being dramatic. Like she was tired of this conversation. Something inside me went ice cold. Tell me the truth, I said, my voice dangerously low. Were you ever going to tell me? Or was I supposed to keep being your idiot husband while you lived another life behind my back? She didn't answer. And that silence told me everything. I took a slow, deliberate step back. Then another. I had walked into this conversation hoping, praying, for something. Maybe remorse. Maybe an explanation that would dull the pain. But all I got was a truth worse than the lie. And now, it was my turn to make a choice. I didn't feel rage anymore. Not the kind that makes you yell, or throw things, or demand answers from a woman who never really planned on giving them. No, this was colder. Sharper. A quiet, deadly realization that the person I had loved, trusted, and built a life with had already moved on long before I ever knew it. And now, so would I. Olivia watched me carefully from across the room, waiting for me to say something. Maybe she thought I would beg. Maybe she thought I would scream. Maybe she thought I would fall apart in front of her. She didn't know me at all. I exhaled slowly. I'm filing for divorce. Her eyes flickered, just for a second. Not with sadness. With calculation. And then, just like that, her mask slipped back into place. That's probably for the best, she said smoothly, as if we were discussing weekend plans. No apology. No regret. She had already written me off. And yet, I could tell she wasn't worried. She thought she would walk away clean. She thought she could leave me behind, run off to her new billionaire life, and take half of everything I built with her. She was wrong. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a flash drive, tossing it onto the dresser between us. She glanced at it, then back at me. What's that? I smirked. A little insurance policy. She picked it up, turning it over in her fingers. See, Olivia, I said, stepping closer, lowering my voice, while you were sneaking off on private jets, lying to my face, and playing house with your new billionaire boyfriend. I was paying attention. Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. I looked into your accounts. I cocked my head. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the money laundering? She went still. I smiled. Yeah. That's right, I continued. See, Assad might be powerful, but his name is attached to a lot of shady transactions. And you? You were dumb enough to funnel his money through our joint account. Which means. I leaned in, just close enough to see the panic flicker across her face. If this goes public, you don't just lose me. You lose everything. Her breath hitched. Jake. I held up a hand. Save it. She was cornered. And she knew it. Her lips pressed together, her mind working fast. But there was no way out. Finally, she exhaled sharply and nodded. She didn't fight me. She didn't beg. She didn't even try to make another excuse. She knew she had lost. 3 weeks later. The divorce was finalized in record time. Olivia didn't ask for a cent, didn't try to fight for the house, the accounts, nothing. Because she knew that if she did, I would bury her. I walked away clean. She walked away with nothing. And Assad? Well, let's just say that when I anonymously leaked a certain flash drive to some financial regulators, his empire took a sudden, very public hit. By the time Olivia realized what I had done, it was too late. She had bet her entire future on that man. And just like that, he was gone. I didn't just leave her. I ruined her. I had won. And the best part? She never even saw it coming. I smiled. Because for the first time in months, I felt free. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Walk away or take revenge? Let me know below.